All right, let's keep going.
America a better place, then let more people come here from country X. And if people who come from country Y simply come here and become a burden on the American taxpayers, then less people should come from country Y. One of the problems we have is that the welfare state makes it very expensive to let immigrants in. So you have a country like New Zealand, whose total population is less than that of New York City. And they have all kinds of barriers against immigrants. They've got 60 million sheep there and 3 million people, and vast amounts of empty land. But the point is, once you put your foot on New Zealand soil, you're entitled to all kinds of benefits at the expense of the taxpayers, and therefore the taxpayers don't want you. So it's not just a question of the number of people in the land, it's a question of what kind of system do you have. And one of Germany's problems, one of the reasons for the great hostility to immigration in Germany, is that they are a welfare state. If this was a place where you come in and it's up to you to support yourself, I suspect you'd have a lot less resistance to immigration.
Let me say this, because kind of what we have going on here in America is a form of a welfare state. It is. Now, I'm gonna say this for the record. I don't believe all forms of welfare is bad. Like, I'm gonna give an example. Let me give an example to what I'm saying. I think because of how prosperous America has become, right? Programs like Social Security for our elders, I believe it's a good program in the sense that, they pay into it over the years. All of us do. When they retire, they actually have some money to pay their bills. You know what I mean? Outside of things like 401k, pension, etc., they still would get a check from the government for all the years of their labor and service into the system. Now, I'm gonna give an example to why I'm saying this. Now, one of my in-laws, right? One of my wife's uncles, we had a discussion and he was just explaining to me how he's so thankful to be an American. He was now this man is in his 70s. He was like, he's extremely thankful for being an American because he said back at home in the Philippines, he said, if I was my age now, he said, I wouldn't have anything because they don't have any system like we have here in America. He's like, all of these years that he has worked, right? Because he was a nurse also. All the years that he's worked, he's paid into the system. He's like, he's able to live extremely well in his retirement off of his pension and of course his Social Security, right? So when we're talking about like social programs like that, I actually think those type of social programs are necessary in this type of society that we live in. What do you think, Rodney? Or what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree that like all social services are not bad because we all in one time or another need assistance.
Right.
And to me, I'm gonna go back to the education of the people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So if the people are educated young, so that would mean your parents had to know and your grandparents had to know. Unfortunately, most of ours did not. So we just didn't know. We out here living aimlessly based on the education we received from the system. So we don't know better. We don't know that we're going to get to a point, hopefully, in one day where where we won't be able to take care of ourselves the way we did earlier in our lifetime. So many of us don't know that we have to sacrifice and prepare unless you're born with a golden spoon in your mouth or you come from a legacy of wealth.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But if you have to build and create on your own, most of us wasn't taught that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we don't really go into it like we're preparing, because you really have to prepare to become old to really take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So if there's a system in place where they collect some of what you work for, like forced savings, they forcing you to save for your future because they feel as though you can't do it yourself.
Right.
We supposed to be able to build, grind yourself and live by yourself with the help of those if you have offspring.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's the basis of family. You know what I'm saying, tribalism, family, you know what I'm saying, we take care of each other, and to be looked out for, taken care of, welfare state really wouldn't exist. We all would take care of ourselves, but that's not
the type of society we live in.
right
And the
now.
average person don't even, they're not even considering the fact that at some point they won't be able to labor the way that they are in their early years.
Exactly, because they don't know any better.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because they didn't learn from their parents or wherever they learned, they just didn't know.
Yeah.
So therefore, this system really saves the day for those who don't know.
That's real.
You know
it's kind of like no, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, because if you don't know, and all you know is, well, you go to school, you graduate, you either go to a further school, work all your life, then you die, and then whatever you do in between, that's what you do. That's pretty much what life is. You born in this system as it is. You born, you go to school, you work, and you roll out. You finish work, then you roll out. That's what it is. So what you do in between those phases, that's what you do. But when you learn the education to work, right? You're working to provide and survive. And then you get to a point where you can't work anymore. So where are the fruits of all your labor? Going back. So this system is telling you, I don't believe that the average person can provide for themselves when they get to a point where they can't work anymore and provide for themselves. So as you working, I want you to pay us this, and this everywhere you work. And then when you get to that age, we're going to provide you to make sure that you had just the bare necessities of what you had as you lived and worked. Most of us, although you live and work, no matter how much you make, you working, you paying bills, you eating, you may enjoy yourself a little while, you may take a vacation, but it's not too much outside of that.
Right.
It's for the average American. Some are beyond that, many are below. So I'm just saying around average. That's pretty much what it is.
Right.
So it's going to be a point, and they done thought this in advance that it's going to be a point where you can't produce as fast as you did back then. So you're going to need a little help. So since you done gave us all this little money, we're going to save it for you, and then we're going to spit it back out to you until you roll out. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that's a good system. So in the Philippines, they don't have a system where when you work, they collect money from you, or they collect money and they still don't give it back to you.
I'm not sure, but he did state that the system is not I would say this is not as organized as ours is, and he did state that he wouldn't be receiving a check. So
and that's what people fail to understand unless they really travel to outside of America, to third world countries that struggle, like some of the South American countries, some of the African countries, some of the European countries, some of the Asian countries. It's people there that they don't have a welfare system. So like the welfare, like take for example, we're from the DC area, so one of the roughest, they would call projects here, right? Where people receive welfare checks, and they consider like, if you had to class it, they would consider that to be not an average class, like a below class, because you're on welfare, you're not really providing. So those systems, those areas and neighborhoods may be rowdy, rooted in violence and things of that nature. So those people who receive those checks on the 1st and the 15th, right? Because they don't do anything to really contribute to society but receive the check. And sometimes this could be generational, which I don't really believe in. I believe people may need assistance down the line, but I don't think it should be generational. But that's a topic. So what I'm saying is, if that person that's receiving this check, receiving housing subsidy, where you live in a house and all you pay is minuscule amounts of money, when those third countries, they don't have these type of systems in place. And these people live in huts, they're hungry, they're starving. I'm saying what I know because I've been to these countries that I named, so I've seen it firsthand. But they don't have this type of system to where it will allow you to receive check to eat, food to eat, place to stay. And then people here who receive that type of system, since they never been outside the country, they feel as though that they're entitled to this when it's only a privilege, and it's a hell of a privilege.
Yeah, it
that,
is.
You know, so
It
that
is.
you can receive a check, free health insurance, no matter the level of health insurance that it may be, but it's something.
Right.
You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
And I didn't mean to cut you off, right? And I was going to say that's the benefits of living in capitalism. You know what I mean? That's one of the residual effects of capitalism is the wealth of the society, where our country, our government can afford to provide these services to the people. Now, the form of socialism that I have an issue with is when I see our congressmen and women, right, enacting bills where they are sending money to other countries. Now I'm talking about, man, they sending things like $150 million, billion dollars, yes, $1 billion for gender studies in Pakistan. Like, what the hell is that? You know what I mean? Excuse my language, but you get what I'm saying, Rodney.
Yeah.
You know, I have an issue with stuff like that. That is not what. First of all, that's not even enumerated in Article 1. What is it? Article 1, Section 8. That they can even do such things.
Yeah, that's
power. So it's unconstitutional on its face, you know. But anywho,
but then they saying where the book at? They talking about a regulation of commerce. So are they getting something in return for? See, when the United States get that money up, they ain't just giving that money up just because they nice. Right. You know what I'm saying? If they giving something with the expectations of receiving something in return, they call that commerce.
Yeah. So what are they expecting in return? Is I guess is the question.
Yeah, what they expect in return, the people of America don't benefit from, only those who allocate tax dollars.
Right.
You know, they benefit from those deals. We don't benefit from those deals. So therefore, what Keith is saying, that he disagree with all that money going, I agree. But the reason why that money is going, because those are deals that are being made. There has to be a deal that's being made. You just don't, if we in so much debt, alleged debt, trillions of dollars according to the news, Congress, and the president, that we're in $1 trillion in debt, how can we afford to give anything?
I agree.
If you're in debt, how can you continue to give someone money that you don't have?
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Unless it's some sort of deal, something that you're getting for it that you're not disclosing.
And hey, Rodney, I was going to say, you know, to continue, you know, robbing and stealing from the people, you know what I mean? Stealing their energy, AKA their labor, and giving it to other people. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Freaking leeches, man.